Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Halcyon podcast. I'm your host, Lon Risley. I'm your PWT heavyweight champion of the world. It's just audio today, but rest assured, my belt is a rest, my broad and undefeated shoulders. It's been a long week, folks. These podcasts now, I feel, will be more in an audio format. Number one, because they're a lot easier to produce. Number two, they don't take a lot of effort in order to sit and record my thoughts. And number three, allows me to keep pace with some of the more up-to-date things that's happening in the worldy world. Chief among which, on this episode, we're going to be talking about 2 or 3 things, which you will have probably already guessed in the description. So, at present, WWE doesn't have a lot coming up, so you'll be relieved to hear it's not WWE we're talking about. However, Arsenal. Everyone knows I'm a big Arsenal fan. Let's talk about Arsenal for a second. Just did Southampton 2, I believe 2-0. I'm not 100% actually. We have the wonder of the internet these days, so let's have a quick looky-loo. The section is Man United target Europa League final. Man United are playing tonight. Interesting Facebook post from Jose Mourinho, at least, stating something on the lines of, if we win the Europa at Chelsea at least, this will be the worst day ever. I'm not targeting it. And then 2 years later at Man United, no, I think it's the most important day of Manchester United's of his career. So yeah. I'm also going to start trying to cover UFC. The reason being is because boxing doesn't really present itself too often enough to be able to cover it on a meaningful basis, and I'm just not into boxing enough to kind of watch sort of the lower ranked boxers in order to get a gist of the divisions and the ins and the outs and things of that nature. So I will be covering boxing, just not to the same extent that perhaps I would cover WWE football. UFC, on the other hand, seems to have a card every other week. So what I've decided is I'm going to keep track of the UFC on a more regular basis from now on, because it will provide me with plenty of juicy material. For instance, we have UFC 211 coming up this Sunday. Miocic versus Dos Santos 2 is the headline fight of the card. So what I'll be doing is endeavouring to try and learn the sport from the inside out and try to give you context, good coverage, and basically a good understanding of what's happening in the UFC, and try to give people context, because I try to do that with boxing as much as I can. For instance, I had a comment on one of my videos the other day, something to the effect of, debating some of the things me and my colleague Ryan, who was on the last podcast, had to say with regards to the Klitschko-AJ fight, specifically the prospects of fights going forward. A gentleman by the name of Jack Young, number one, Wilder has the WC belt, and number two, if you watch IFL TV in any interview with Eddie Hearn, he's really not that bad, referring to Deontay Wilder. Put a fairly lengthy response back, as is my way, and surprisingly enough, he's not responded. I can't say I blame him. But boxing, I seem to have a decent understanding of, at least from the political side. I know who the main players are, who the organisations are, so it's very easy for me to give context to that. UFC, there is only one body, which is nice. However, the fighters are somewhat of a mystery to me, again, with the exception of the big heavy hitters, which brings me on to one of the news stories that seems to have cropped up today. Michael Bisping, who is a British fighter who likes to drink, versus George St. Pierre. GSP has been cancelled as Yoel Romero gets a title shot in lieu. I think Yoel Romero is held in pretty high regard. He's actually a pretty beast fighter, from my understanding at least. However, I was slightly disappointed by this. I saw the press conference for Bisping versus Pierre a while back. Pierre carried himself as a great ambassador, spoke well. He's Canadian born, I believe, but French Canadian, so he speaks French as his first language. Did his answers in both English and French for the French media. Bisping arrived maybe 15, I want to say it was 15 minutes, more like 10 minutes late. Clearly having had a few drinks, and proceeded to just swear and berate GSP, saying he was never a decent fighter and yada yada yada. I was disappointed because GSP I am familiar with, and rest assured, if you don't know much about UFC, GSP, it's difficult to make a comparison in boxing, but he is probably one of the best pound for pound fighters of all time. He is not renowned for being a wrestler or a striker, but he's beaten people with both, pretty much beat everyone in the division, and retired because no one could really defeat him, and he's come back, which is great because I'm trying to get back into the UFC, or trying to get into the UFC, I should say. It's nice to know that there's some heavyweight, main contenders to try and get me loosened into it and kind of, get to grips with things. So I won't go into too much detail now because I haven't had time to research that particular card, but I will be researching the 211 card and doing a podcast on that as a preview. So if you're into UFC, hopefully that will satiate your bloodlust for that. In the meantime, though, I can preview another game, Arsenal versus Stoke. That's away at 5:30 on Saturday. And Arsenal at the moment are going through a really hard patch, to say the least. Arsenal are in the unfavourable position of not really knowing what their future is right now, one way or the other. They don't know that Wenger is going, and they also don't know what's going to happen to the players. That a lot of them are entering the last year of their contract, and it's a really sad time to be an Arsenal fan, because you have this weird dichotomy of Arsenal fans that are almost hoping for Arsenal to fail. They don't like the fact that we've just beaten United. They don't really enjoy the fact that Arsenal comparatively recently have been doing okay. Not amazing, but they've been producing some decent results. Although not on a consistent enough basis to warrant getting excited about a late top 4 charge. And I think the sad thing is for most Arsenal fans is that those caught in the middle, those who aren't really, for instance, the most recent result against Southampton, 2-0. Now this is the stupid thing. Beginning of the season, we'd have expected this kind of result against Southampton. But beginning of the season, we really couldn't buy a result like that for love nor money. 2-0, solid, dominant score. And again against United, 2-0. That is a scoreline that dictates that Arsenal can control a game, put pressure and win games comfortably. Now, I didn't watch either of these games, sadly enough, but you can draw enough comparisons from the result, because that ultimately is what matters at the end of the day. Did you get the clean sheet? Did you get the goal? Cool, we move on with our lives. But as you look at the table, it makes some pretty grim reading, because with 3 games to go, even if Chelsea lose all their next 3 games and we win all of ours, the absolute closest we can come to Chelsea is 9 points, if memory serves. So we're on 66 at the moment, plus 9. That gives you 75, 9 points behind. 9 points off the title. And that isn't even a good, 84 points for a championship is pretty reasonable. But if Chelsea had been churning out the results week after week more recently, instead of having that little stumble, allowing Tottenham to get back into the game, it's not great. The fact that Tottenham will guaranteed finish above us this season is a blow for most Arsenal fans. St. Tottenham's Day, as has been known to know. I've got to be honest, it's been a tradition of mine for as long as I can remember, back to 2006, calling some of my closest friends who are Tottenham fans, only to find that their phones are magically not working. And that's not going to happen this year. It's kind of sad. Not for them, obviously. But in this instance, for Arsenal fans, it's one thing. But we, with the exception of perhaps United, it doesn't look like we're going to get top 4. City have to drop points. Liverpool have a game in hand, which is fair enough. 1 win will put us 1 point behind them. But it just isn't looking good for Arsenal at the moment. And I made a podcast on this maybe a month ago or so now, which got some heat from some people, which is fair enough. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. My show is for my opinion, so deal with it. And for Arsenal, it's a sad situation, because if Wenger could somehow muster the kind of form that he can in spurts over the course of a season, we could win. There's no doubt about it. We have the players. I'm sick of this criticism of players that were good enough last year, somehow aren't good enough now. Football pundits and fans are so fickle in nature, because a footballer's abilities doesn't change with the sun. Footballer's abilities are fine, form, dips and all the rest of that business, but still, it's one of those things that football fans seem to disagree on. But as an Arsenal fan, it makes me sad to see the club still in turmoil. That podcast was a month ago. The issues that have been, talked about have been going on for months prior to that. Come the end of the season, I hope for some clarity. I mean, the fact that we have the FA Cup final against Chelsea, which is a harken back to the days when we used to look at that fixture and go, yeah, we beat Chelsea in the final. It's a tough fixture. It's the toughest FA Cup final fixture we've had in the last three, including this one, obviously. We had Hull, and we had, oh God, who did we have? I don't remember. It was Hull and it was somebody else. I can't remember. It was for Aston Villa. There it is. And they've provided us with the trophies that have sustained Wenger for the last couple of years. And like I say, it is genuinely sad to hear a number of Arsenal fans actively campaigning against Wenger. The Wenger out stuff is actually pretty funny. If you go onto Google and type Wenger out, you'll be greeted with a smorgasbord of Wenger out signs at various places that aren't even related to football, such as basketball games, WWE. There was even one at the Anthony Joshua fight. It's hilarious. I think it's freaking so funny. But for the fans, who it's kind of become a joke that Wenger's never going and the Wenger out thing is just sort of in vain, I do feel for them more and more, because Arsenal as a whole are becoming a bit of a joke, which hurts the brand, which hurts the perception of the club, which means that signing players is going to be more difficult unless you're offering the money, which Arsenal don't. It makes investors skittish. You have to be quite bullish about the perception of yourself, especially in business, because you want people, even if it's not founded, you want the perception to be what it is. So for Arsenal, I'm going to close this section by saying, look, I really hope we have a good last clean run towards the end of the season. In terms of the fixtures, we've got Stoke, which I would hope that we will win. We also have Sunderland away. No, sorry, Sunderland at home on Tuesday. I would expect we would win that one. Sorry, people, parched. And then we have the last game of the Premier League season against Everton, which is a tricky one, but again, I would expect us to win that one. So all three games are winnable. We're on a bit of a streak, 2 wins, 2-0 wins against decent opposition, so there's every chance we can compete. If anyone else slips up, there's a good chance we can overshadow them and win top 4 and win the FA Cup, and that would be effectively business as usual, which would mask the problem, of course. But I guess we'll see, won't we? Anyway, moving on. So I'm going to take this opportunity to preview some of the things that we'll be covering in the next couple of podcasts, to try and give you more information on some of these events. Like I say, I'm going to try and get guest hosts in, because I'm going to try and give as much notice as possible that I'm going to be covering these events. So we'll see what happens. But in any event, so we have Arsenal versus Stoke City. Arsenal in good form, like I say, so I expect we'll win that one. We've got UFC 211, which is coming up on Sunday, which I'll do a preview for on the Saturday prior. Sunderland, Arsenal on the Tuesday. You'll get a podcast previewing that on the Monday, along with a new Halcyon. And then on the 21st is the first title defense of my PWT World Heavyweight Championship title holder belt, which I am the inaugural champion, by the way, and undisputed and undefeated, against Cinematic Venom. So I'm going to try and get the roster, and I'm going to try and get the match, the card. 5 predictions each. Doesn't have to be the same 5 predictions, but whoever wins the most wins the belt, which will be me. Also that day at 3 o'clock will be the Arsenal-Everton game, so like I said, you'll get a podcast definitely on the Saturday previewing that, and also covering the aftermath on the Monday. In addition, coming the Saturday after, on the 27th of May, you've got Kell Brook versus Errol Spence Jr. This is a big fight for Kell Brook, coming off of the loss against Gennady Golovkin, who has announced he's gonna fight Sorry, I got so excited. Alvarez. Canelo Alvarez, my bad, sorry. Saul Alvarez, do you know what? I'm so bad for this, where is it? It's around here somewhere, I've put it in, promos. How can I not know the name? That's terrible. I followed the guy for it. Yeah, Saul Alvarez, sorry. My memory left me there, folks. Sorry about that. I'm not supposed to know a thing about boxing, but Canelo, Cinnamon, the Mexican wonder boy who's not really a boy anymore. Followed his career for a while. A good friend of mine by the name of Craig put me onto him originally when Mayweather and Pacquiao were still negotiating. And he was touted as a future prospect to replace Mayweather at the top, and it looks like he's succeeding in terms of his boxing ability, but as a draw, we'll have to see. He's never fought outside of America before. And I think we're finding with British boxing at the moment, America's not the one-stop shop for boxing anymore. It's why Deontay Wilder's picking a fight with a slightly smaller opponent, Tony Bellew, which is a surprise considering he's the World Heavyweight Championship title holder. Bellew is the cruiserweight title holder. Yes, he beat David Haye, who was 37 and had an ankle that snapped under a slight bruise. But nevertheless, boxing will be fairly prolific for me as soon as the fights come thick and fast. So we've got Errol Spence Jr. versus Kell Brook. As I said, Kell Brook coming off that devastating loss. It was a magnificent fight, super entertaining. Kell Brook put his heart on the line and just found himself completely outclassed by the much larger Kazakh in Golovkin, which against Alvarez will be just a magnificent fight. You can bet your ass I'm going to be watching that one. And then also on the 28th, the following day, also the same day actually, before I go ahead. So on the same day, 27th of May, that's at 8:30 in the evening. You've also got Arsenal versus Chelsea at 5:30 in the FA Cup final. That's going to be one hell of a day for sport. Might have to book the following Monday off for that to recover. You never know. But then you've got UFC Fight Night on the 28th, Sunday the 28th of May. You've got Gustafsson versus Teixeira. I'm familiar with Gustafsson. I believe he's Finnish or Icelandic. I can't remember. Just remember he's got a big bushy blonde beard. But that should be a decent card, especially when it's heavyweight laden like it is. So we'll be giving you all the updates of that. And then on the following week, so this is about 2 weeks time from now, 2-3 weeks time from now, you've got UFC 212. You've got the return of Aldo, who was knocked out by Mayweather a few months back. He's since fought again, kind of regained a bit of momentum. Versus a guy called Holloway, who I'm not too sure about. I mean, like I say, doing plenty of research for either of those, so just know they'll have the stats for that. And then you've got WWE Extreme Rules on Sunday, the 4th of June, which you damn skippy I'll be checking out. Is hopefully, well, I say hopefully, of course, defending my PWT Heavyweight Championship once again. Also, this is an upcoming event per se. I will be looking at the career and life of Muhammad Ali because I didn't get the chance to cover it originally when I really wanted to. When he passed, I did originally make a podcast about it, but unfortunately I didn't release it in lieu of not really having the credibility to talk about it, not having an audience that really warranted talking about boxing. So instead I did the preview on England due to the World Cup. So, sorry, European Championships, my bad. But I really want to talk about Muhammad Ali because he, in a similar vein to Tupac, I really want to talk about his legacy, his fights, why he was perceived as the greatest from my perspective, and why I think he isn't. That might shock or annoy some people, I don't know. Other people might have other people in the welterweights now as Floyd Mayweather or Pacquiao or Sugar Ray Leonard or whoever the case may be is the greatest. I'll go into more detail at the time. It will probably be in a podcast format just because it's a lot easier to talk about. I might even get a guest in on that, who knows. But yeah, as far as Halcyon is concerned, as I said in one of my videos, I think it was the 100th video, you'll be getting at least 2 videos a week, one on a Monday, one on a Friday, one podcast at least, one review at least. Probably now that I'm going to be previewing these events on a more regular basis, they won't be as long. They won't be these half an hour, 45-minute, hour-long podcasts unless I have a guest. They'll be more preview style, so don't worry too much about it, you know, taking up all of your space in your YouTube folders or on Facebook or Twitter, wherever the hell you catch my stuff these days. Also want to take an opportunity to say thank you to anyone that's watched my most recent videos, anyone that sent messages, commented, liked, shared, subscribed, and all that good jazz, so I really appreciate it. So I'm going to bring this podcast to a close on this occasion around the 20-minute mark if I'm lucky. So thank you very much for listening on this occasion. Instead of watching, stay tuned. Please like, share and subscribe, and check out some of the other channels in the description below as always. Specifically, if you could check check out Cinematic Venom, where my videos are being shared at the moment. I haven't posted anything on his channel in maybe 2 weeks because I'm in production for a new batch, so rest assured they'll be coming out soon, more movie oriented stuff at his channel. Gaming will be reserved for mine, but rest assured I have about 40 videos that I'm in the middle of writing, producing, filming, and when they're done, yeah, you'll see them eventually. So thank you very much for watching and listening again. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you guys on the next Halcyon podcast.